Hey, y'all, I'm Dylan, a.k.a. Dilly.
Hey y'all, I'm Jonah, aka one of the boys.
So we were just talking off air, and we were just telling each other crazy stories. So we figured that we would kind of go over some stories because we've experienced some pretty crazy things.
Yes, sir.
And this guy he just opened up a whole can of something, and, he's like, let's go ahead and start recording. So okay. So you want to start from the top bottom? I don't know. Y'all
Hey.
get that? Y'all get that reference in a second.
Now, so I'll kind of go from where the story first started here. So I would say good 5 years back. We have a bar here in San Antonio. It's called SA Country Saloon. Never knew anything about it. I was with one of my buddies at the time. We were just going out having a good time. Well, some of our friends were like, "Hey, we're going out to this bar. Y'all should come out. It's gonna be a good time." All right, never been again. So we go out. We're there just having a good time, talking. All of a sudden, we start realizing, gay couples start walking in, and
Which isn't a bad thing.
no, not at all.
Isn't a bad thing at all.
No, and I'll get to my point here in a minute. And so we kind of start looking around. We start seeing, the pride flags and, all this and all that. Well, we come to realize that it's a gay bar. And, we're both like, hey, we kind of don't want to be here. Like, let's go ahead and bounce. Because at the same time, like, we weren't really having a good time. It was boring as it could be. And
Were you scared that somebody is gonna buy you a couple drinks and you were gonna?
Man, I'll get to one of those stories here in a minute too. Hold on, but this is at a different bar. So, and me and him were just talking, and he was like, I kind of don't want to make people bad. Well, FYI, my dad is gay. He's been gay since I was damn near 12 years old, and
I've known him. Dude, I've known him for a long time, and I just found this out. I didn't know this. Like, I legit, dude.
I swore I have told
Does that
you
make
before.
me a bad friend that I didn't know that?
No, it's. I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's not something that I'm just gonna like blurt out. Oh, hey, my dad's gay.
Well, now
I mean, now everybody knows. But
sorry, pops.
love you. But no, it's just.
Is he single? We can turn this around.
No, he is not single, folks. Sorry, but honestly, when you look at my dad, he doesn't seem. Well, a while back, you would not think that he was gay. People have seen my dad. Like when I was in high school, people saw my dad, and no one believed that he was gay. Nobody.
Well, okay,
he's got a full sleeve tattoo. He's tatted.
But what does gay look like? It doesn't look like nothing.
No, and I mean, there's guys who honestly don't.
It's a preference.
Yeah, it really is. Like I know, like hell, he's got a few friends of his that are. I mean, you couldn't really tell to the point where, I mean, you can tell by just looking at them from a mile away. But I mean, they're all really cool people.
Okay. So before we get flagged for trying to say what they. Okay, so let's take this a step back because you were getting ready to tell me when and how you found out, around the time frame you found out. I think I don't remember how I worded the question, but I'm pretty sure in my head it went along the lines of like, did your mom and dad get a divorce? Because your dad was like,
no,
hey,
no,
I like.
No, I mean, they got a divorce because of, like a lot of things, things just didn't go the way they planned it to be. And, they were having issues. I mean, they're best of friends now. They're better friends than they were married.
Well, yeah, I mean, one,
But
he was like hiding this thing that like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he's hiding his whole entire lifestyle that, I mean, I'm not saying that he was doing anything, but he's hiding this whole entire thing that he's wanting to admit or get off his shoulders.
Well,
And
another thing of kind of going off with that, he's prior military. Back in the day, you really couldn't be gay in the military.
yeah, like openly gay, right?
So he had to kind of push that aside, which I mean, I'm sure was pretty hard for him, but I mean, nowadays, I mean, everybody that he works with knows.
But did he marry your mom as like a overcorrection, like to
No.
show, like to prove something?
And I've asked him these questions, and he told me that in the back of his mind, he always kind of knew that he was gay, but at the same time, like, him and my mom were.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but how did he know? Was it like his openness to try?
Yeah, I would
certain
assume
things,
so.
or was he just like, I think guys are cute.
I mean,
I've admitted, cute guy. If a guy's cute, he's cute.
I mean,
but
I've said that another man looks good.
But there's a line that I couldn't.
There's a line that
I forgot where I heard it from. Dick ain't ketchup. You don't just try it. So how did he go from? Okay, I think I know. Like I think I know, or I may know that I prefer. Because is he specifically gay? Is he bisexual?
No, he's specifically gay.
So he cut off all
everything
after your mom.
Yep.
Went straight to the.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So sorry. I wanted to find it because it was like.
No, you're good.
Because that is a question that I ask a lot of people that I know that chooses to either whatever letter in the alphabet that they choose to be, right?
Right.
That's one of my questions is, how did you know? When did you know? Like, what was the deciding factor? Because a lot of times, man, that is such a intense decision to be like, especially somebody prior military service. He had a wife and kids. For him to jump kind of over there and he's like, nope, this is what I am, which kudos to him because that's tough.
Yeah, and I've always told my dad, whatever makes him happy, whatever he, decides to do, I'm happy. Like, I love my dad. Always have, always will. And I told him that, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. Like, and he was, at first, he was scared to tell us because he didn't know how we were going to react. But, again, if this is what makes you happy, this is how you're going to be happy. I'm not gonna sit there and tear your head off because I don't think it's right.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he probably could tear your head off.
But I mean, and that was one of the biggest things that when he was terrified to tell us, and when I kind of got a little older, and I understand, what he wants to do. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. That's all I can.
Well, and that's the way that it should be. But okay, because we can kind of go off on several different ways from where we're at now. Okay, so go back to the story before I interrupted you. My bad.
You're good.
My mind's going. I have so many questions. I'm so intrigued. Okay, so your mom and dad get a divorce. After the divorce, he basically made up his mind.
Yep.
Okay, I'm kind of done with women. I'm not really interested in trying these other alternatives. I'm
100% gay.
I'm 100% gay. I'm going to seek men. I have this whole lifestyle that I'm going to go after and put my past behind. So carry on from that decision, because that's kind of a, it's kind of like somebody who wants to change genders, and then they're just like, I'm gonna show up to work in a dress, right? Because it's a huge swap. I guess it's not exactly the same, but it's such a drastic change. how did he make that, like, where did he go from that? Because that is a huge commitment to something.
So he he started seeing, guys, after everything, and he just came to realize that that's what he wanted to do. Like, he wanted to see other men. And it just kind of.
And was it casually? Was he dating these guys? Was he
There was
experiencing?
there was a few that he started dating, and I mean, there's been a few guys that I can honestly say that I would probably beat the shit out of. I mean, as usual, but there's other guys that have been really pretty. I mean, really cool guys. So, and he was
Just one of the boys.
yeah, but no, he was actually he's also married. Yeah, he was so.
That seems to be a trend, right? With older men that are coming out, they've had this whole life ahead, which is probably because you're brought up from a young age. You're gonna marry a woman, have kids, probably serve in the military, get a career, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, in the 2000s, 2010s, it's gonna almost become popular to some degree to be able, or to be willing to kind of experiment, explore, see what you like, and maybe you might find something kind of about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I mean, that's kind of, it almost kind of makes me sad. Because it's like, man, this dude has been married his whole life. And it's been like, he may have been happy with that woman, right? Like, he may have, the sex could have been awesome, the relationship could have been awesome, but there's just that thing
in the back of your mind.
That thing missing.
Yeah.
Right? That how do you think that, do you think he's just like, hey, Laura, peg me? Like, how,
I don't even know.
do you think they just like, man, I have so many, and I want to ask them, but I don't know at what line things get kind of weird, cause it really is like, how for you to make that jump, wouldn't you, like, if I was to put myself in that position, I almost feel like you would have to experiment and see, can I take that next, like, can I take that jump? Because then what happens if you're like, oh, well, I'm attracted to men, I'm going to let them take me on dates, and we're going to experiment a little bit, and then you start doing stuff with them, and you're like, oh, nope, I ain't ready for that. Get off me.
Yeah.
Get off, and then y'all start fighting. So, like, okay, sorry, I keep ADHD. Okay, so anyway, so he started dating this guy. The guy was married.
No. They were married. They got married.
Your dad and the gentleman.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so disregard almost everything I just said, because that was my misunderstanding.
No, so, oh man, so this guy, he was in our lives for about 15 years, man. I would say he was one of the most down to earth, one of the coolest guys that I have actually ever met.
So, is that his current?
So,
because that would be up until fairly recent, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of hate putting this out there on camera.
Well, if you don't want to, if you don't want to put any of the stuff out there, 100%.
There's a few things. Yeah, there's a few things that I kind of want.
I was just curious because you said when you were 12, and then you said 15 years, and I was just doing the math, and I'm like, oh man, that was fairly recent.
Well, so in the very beginning, like, they were talking, dating. They married for about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
before that, they were like, they've known each other. We've met him, a long time ago.
So there's probably some overlapping from when he made the decision to go that way, and them being friends.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I just wanted to make sure I kind of understood. Yeah, this is a hugely sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Right? And includes family, and this includes a whole group of people that you know what I mean? Like we don't want to whatever we're talking about. Obviously, we want it to be as friendly as possible because we don't need nobody getting mad.
I'm gonna kind of go back to, beginning of the conversation when you said someone trying to get my number at that bar. So I got one story for you. So, it was a long time ago, but my dad was like, "Hey, me and a few friends are going out to the bar. You should come out with us." And I'm like, "Where y'all going?" Well, it's a gay bar downtown. And I was like, I don't really know. I didn't really do gay bars at that time, but I was like, you know what? Let's go. Like, I'm gonna go out and have fun. And I was like, man, it's like the only thing I don't want to happen is someone trying to come and talk to me and try to hit on me. He goes, don't even worry about that. He's like, all of my friends here, we got you. Don't worry. I was like, all right. Well, sitting there, and I just feel like somebody's just like staring through my skull. Turn around, this dude's just staring at me. And one of his friends kind of sits there, looks at me, and goes, "You good?" And I'm like, "Not really." So he looks across the bar. This guy is sitting there looking at me, and he just kind of looks at him, and like he taps like 4 of the guys, and they're just all staring back at this guy, and he's just like, he's out. And I'm like,
the guy who's staring at you?
Yeah, like he's gone.
So one of your dad's friends, or was it your dad who stared?
No, it was one of his friends.
So he just looks at the guy, and the guy's just like,
he's like, I'm
out.
I'm out. Like I'm like, let's not do this because I was like, but there have been times where guys have like tried to come up to me, and I'm like, no, like this ain't happening.
Dude, I take it as a compliment because
no, like don't get me wrong, like I do too, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna try to like entertain you, and like you try to get my number, like that's
well, I'm not saying like lead them on. I'm not saying like let them tickle your beard. I'm just saying like oh my gosh, like thank you so like that is such a compliment.
Yeah, it's just
like.
But then again, like this is like me like kind of being a gay bar for the very first time, and
well, I feel like
I didn't know like the kind of vibe.
Well, I feel like there's a stigma too, right? And that one's kind of awkward because it's kind of like there's like this what is it? Homophobia, where people are like, "Oh my gosh, they're gay. They're gonna basically shove their dick in my mouth," and it's like,
no, dude, like,
bro, what are you talking? Like, what are you? Why would?
No. So I have another story.
Somebody like, shoved a dick in your mouth?
No. When you're talking about like homophobia, so my brother has a really good. Well, I don't know if they talk anymore or whatever. But he had a really good friend named Noel. He was kind of on the other spectrum of like kind of homophobia or whatever. Like he didn't mind being around him, but as soon as you try to like talk to him, he's out. Like he's done.
You know what that probably means?
Yeah.
That
probably
is gay.
So no. It gets better. So my dad has this friend named Orlando. Well, when he drinks, he gets hilarious. Well, he goes and started to sit on this guy on Noel's lap, and he is like trying to like touch on him and everything. He is like no, like he is trying to like get away from him. And we're in a 1-story house that my dad used to live in, so there's not a lot of places you can run to. So he's like running around the house trying to get away from him. This dumbass decides to go hide in a closet. So he just goes straight into a closet. Well, again, the phrase coming out of the closet. And so Orlando yanks the door and goes, "It's time to come out, sweetheart." And we were just sitting there dying, watching him run from room to room, running through areas, running through the backyard, anywhere and everywhere he can to end up in a fucking closet.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, dude, it was hilarious.
Dude, I really do feel like that's what homophobia is.
I believe so because
I think that it is legitimately people that are scared
they are.
that they might be,
but
like that they might be gay or might have like tendencies towards like openness to possible like experimenting with the same sex. Like I don't understand why dude, there's people that get so worked up about it. And I'm like and I think it's kind of funny, right? And I mean, I'm a pretty faithful person in the sense of like religion.
Right.
But people always like try to use the Bible and stuff against it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he said like you're not supposed to lay with the same sex. Well, you're also not supposed to fuck your child. And there was plenty of that going on.
Oh, dude.
So
Jesus
then it's
Christ.
like, so what so what we gonna listen to? Like let the dude wear what he wants to wear, let him live the life he wants to live, and if he wants to go do whatever he wants to do, let him.
Yeah.
That's better than somebody trying to fuck a 12-year-old.
Yeah, that
You know what I'm saying?
That baffles my head, man.
But then it's like, but then people get so upset about it, and you're like, really? This is a rock you want to die? Like, why are you so mad that somebody wants to live their life? Like, dude, I really, really, really wholeheartedly believe that they're just nervous, that they're like, man, what if?
Yeah.
What if? And they're just running away from it. They're scared little sissies, and they're just like, ooh, I don't know how to handle my emotions. Because, like, what if a guy brushed up on me during a wrestling match and I got a little stiffy? Right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's how that all starts is like maybe you're in football and somebody in a pile grabs up on you because they're trying to get the football. And you're like, oh my gosh, I like the way that guy smelled. Like, he had firm hands.
Yeah, smell
And
like
then
stank.
it's like, and then he's like, no, I have to hate anybody
Yeah.
that's willing to do that in public, like, or behind the behind closed. Dude, that I don't really understand. Okay, so because I just want to make sure, because like I said, my mind, I'm going 100 miles an hour.
Right.
So the story with your dad, we don't have to get into like the details about that relationship, but
Right.
as long as you're open to like continuing the story kind of about the progression and how he like moved on like throughout his life, made certain decisions. I don't know what was uncomfortable for you to tell. If continuing that story is what you're referring to, then we can end that. But like I'm you got me. You got me. I'm like I'm in. This is a good story. I
Yeah.
wanna
Yeah. I mean, no, like, he's. Man, I don't even know where to begin on that one.
But like you said, your mom and him are they're relatively close now.
Oh, dude, they're they're better friends now than they were ever married. They always tell me that, and I mean, yeah, like things happen, but I mean, if they're happier this way, then
Oh, 100%. 100%.
yeah, by all means,
For you though, for you being a 12-year-old and kind of like just knowing that where the world was kind of, I guess, at that time, right? Which, because it was in a weird mix, because it was starting to be looked at as like that was
Yeah.
kind of when the whole progressive push was starting to kind of make waves and make it okay and like make it almost kind of that's when they were trying to make it a very acceptable thing, like trying to
Yeah.
stop the hate, trying to get rights, etc. So at that point, what was kind of going through your head being 12 years old, knowing that like, hey, if my friends found out, hey, if whoever found out, they might look at me different, might not want to come over and hang out. What?
I mean, yeah, being that age, it was a little difficult. I mean, kind of realizing that, my mom and my dad are splitting up. I went my whole brain like shut down. Like, I mean, I stopped doing schoolwork, homework. Like, I barely went outside. Like, my whole mind was doing this. It was everywhere.
So
1,000 miles an hour.
So at that time, were you more focused on the split, or were you more focused on the fact that there's a split plus
It was more of the split. Because like I said, the more I was getting older, the more I was, thinking about it. I mean, if my dad's happy like this, then I'm happy for him. Like, all I want is my dad to be happy. Like, that's all I cared about. So it was more along the lines of the split, is what it was.
So then, whenever he decides to actually come out, about how long is that after they had already made the decision to split?
I think it was a good few years.
Okay, so there was some time.
Yeah, there was some time, and then there was, then that's when he told us like everything, and
Okay, so there was some time to kind of like
process,
heal, get over, process the split up, and then it's like, was it almost kind of like a form of relief when you found out that, oh, okay, like partially what was going on was like my dad was stuck in a situation that didn't allow him to be himself?
I would say it was more relief than anything else, because then I kind of realized like what was going through my dad's mind, like everything like that, and what was going on in the relationship, whatever. So Jeez. It was. I would say it came along as a relief to knowing why.
I can't believe I didn't know that. Dang.
Yes, sir.
Cannot believe I did not know that. Yeah, like I've always like, I'm one of those people that, dude, just live your life. Just don't push anything on me. And I'm not talking about like physically. I'm talking about like agenda wise. Like, dude, I don't care what anybody does with their body. I don't care what anybody does for fun. I don't really care about a lot of that stuff. But then there's like sometimes where people like almost force you to have to believe in something, and it's it's like, hey man, I don't need to know what you do behind closed doors, but I will accept you as a person, like your personality, your traits. I will accept all that, and like if you need a wingman to go pick somebody up, I'm there. I don't that doesn't really like affect me. But I feel the same way regardless of whatever the relations are, which I don't even like a guy and a girl out in public just going ham on each other. I'm like, dude, take that home. Go.
Honestly, so anytime I go to like, Cowboys or whatever, and I get a little too much to drink and they're just all over each other, I'm like, look, I was like, there's a time and a place for that. It is not here.
Just go home.
Honestly,
go get a hotel. Go to the car.
There's a hotel 2 minutes away from the freaking bar.
Go somewhere else. I don't want to see it. And I know there's probably a handful of people that are sitting there like, well, I bet you like it when two girls make out. I don't like that. I mean, I'm not opposed to just the same way as I'm not opposed.
Time, like, again, there's a time and a place to be all over each other, being a little handsy, whatever. Like, dude, I swear, there's been times where I go to the bar and it looks like two people are about to fuck in the corner. And I'm like, seriously, take that home.
I've seen two people get thrown out because over there by the punching bag machine,
I'm not
surprised. A girl was given some domage, and then they wanted to act stupid, and I'm like, y'all do realize everybody can see what y'all were doing, right? Like, you're not, but it's like, dude, go home.
Yeah. Again.
Go home. But then before, I don't want to get too, like, off topic, but it was just one of those things where it's like, I just don't like it when people press. Aside from that, just be yourself. I will love you for who you, like, be yourself. Because, like, I'm probably one of those rare people that I want to know. Like, I'm intrigued, right? Like, I'll ask lesbians, I'm like, okay, you don't like men, right? And this is probably better suited to have a conversation with the lesbian.
Yeah.
But, oh, you don't like men, right? And then I'll ask them, well, why? Some may say, well, I find a connection better with women. Maybe I find women more attractive. I like the way the woman's body feels. They are more intimate.
Yeah.
They are more emotionally available. Okay, that's fine. Then there's the other sides where it's like, oh, I just think men are hideous and their equipment isn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but do you still use toys? Some of them will be like, yeah. Well, then, like, I understand, like, to a degree, but then I'm like, but you're using a thing that's molded from the design of the thing that you're upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of like, no, I'm not I'm not criticizing you. I want to know.
Yeah, we're like, it's just something that kind of honestly is a little bit of, kind of fascinating, like why they choose to go this route and go this way.
Well, but I think that there's, like, I'll have those conversations with people, and I think that I don't think that they're used to people being curious.
No.
And by curious, I'm not talking about, like, wanting to do stuff, but I'm saying, like, curious in the sense of, like,
why?
I want to know, like, I hung out with a girl who was pansexual, and I had 100% honest, I've heard of it, did not know what it was, right? Because it seems like every other day a new letter is popping up.
Yeah.
But never knew. But I was like, ooh, she's a pansexual. She openly admitted she's a pansexual. Her sister was a lesbian. And I was like, I want to have a conversation with y'all. Right? And one of the girls just took offense. But I'm like, no. Like, I'm not getting onto you, or I'm not being ugly towards you. I want to know, like, what is... Can you educate me? Because I can't understand who you are unless I understand why you are the way that you are. Like, can you give me some insight, right? Yeah. And then, like, she would sit there and tell me, because to me, I was like, oh, you like sitting on a fucking frying pan? Like, what is a pan? Like, what is a pansexual? Like, I don't know. And I guess Google could tell me. But it was something that I'm like, well, I want to educate myself with an individual on those topics.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want the human aspect of it. And she's like, oh, well, basically it's just like where I like personality. So no matter what you are, if I vibe with you, I vibe with you. She's like, you could be in transition. You could be, what's the current term? Cis, hetero, whatever. You could be biologically male, biologically woman. You could be in transition. You could be whatever.
Yeah.
And if I vibe with the personality, I vibe with the personality. I'm not against.
Okay.
I'm not against that. But I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, you just don't care. Like, you just want personality. She's like, yeah. Well, okay. Like, color me educated. Because I'm like, I understand that. Now, obviously, in my head, I'm like, so you wouldn't have... There wouldn't be some, like, adjustment period if you're with somebody and then they're like, I want to change my whole appearance, right? Like,
right.
Because I think we get so used to seeing certain things, especially with the person we're with, right? It's like you're dating a girl, then she decides to go bald. Yeah. And you're like, it's such a shock to you. For me, it was like, if somebody's going through that process... But the person that you vibe with the personality, everything is great. How does that work? And I wasn't really able to get an answer, but like those things kind of intrigue me because I'm like, well, if you're going to be open to just personality regardless of orientation, wouldn't you kind of have to be open to a lot, like very, very open-minded in the sense of like, what somebody could go through, what somebody could change their mind to, what somebody could possibly, as they get older, understand that this is the way that I want to live.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It intrigues me. But it also intrigues me about people's sexual preferences. Like, what they want to do in the bedroom. Because I'm like, what do you consider freaky? What do you consider intimate? What do you consider, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're on a first date, where's your limit? Right? Yeah. Do you bust out the gag and the straps? Do you just go bum missionary? Right? Like, do you go, like, where do you,
yeah.
Now, no, okay, if you just do missionary for the first date, what happens if you throw, 4 or 5 drinks in there. Does that go out the window?
Most of the time.
Right? Do you just say, fuck it, we're going to...
See where this goes?
Dude, all of it all of it gets me curious. Because I guess I'm like a very curious person by nature. But like, that's why like the whole story about your dad kind of like caught me off guard. Because I'm like, ooh, I have so many questions. Because it's... You don't get to hear those stories. And then you don't really get to talk to somebody who like watched a family member kind of go through that, and I guess be open to some degree about it. And then as well, like, you don't really get a chance to see how that person felt,
Right?
because I personally, I think about that. I'm like, well, what if my kid ever came out gay? Not that I would have an issue with them being gay.
No, not
But
at
it's
all.
but it's more along the lines of, how would I wade that water,
Okay.
right? Without making them feel excluded, without being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, so they're going through a huge transition in their life. We have to be extremely delicate about how we approach certain subjects, right? Like us, as we get older, we know that children goes into teenagers, goes into young adults. We go through phases.
Yeah.
Is this a phase, or is this a actual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your dad is in a position where he, grown-ass man. Like, he knows exactly what he knows exactly where he's at. He knows exactly where he's going. But I don't know. I think about this stuff. I'm like, how would you wade that water without, because you wouldn't want to hurt your child's feelings,
God, no.
but that would be such a, man, like it, and I know like the overarching, like, just love them and be accepting and be, well, okay, so knowing my children, they're gonna be smartasses. I'm gonna be like, yo, can you clean your bathroom? You just hate me because I'm gay, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. But now that you said it,
right now, yeah. No.
clean your fucking butt plugs. Like, come on. My son ain't gonna be a furry. No, man. Like, I think about stuff like that. But man, we got so far off I think the goal here was like, we were supposed to be telling stories, but dude, I just get off on these tangents, or like, my mind goes so many different places.
Goes about,
and
1,000 miles an hour, and you just want to,
dude, and I just want to ask so many questions, because like I said, I am a curious person. Like,
yeah,
and dude, there's not a specific thing that I'm like uber curious about. I'm curious about it all. Like, you want to go psychology? Why is a serial killer a serial killer? What are they missing in their brain that makes it okay? Right? Like Ted Bundy. Why is it okay for him to do the things that he did to women, but then have a relationship at home?
yeah,
Right? Why is it okay for, like, where is that separation? And then and then women were like, he's so handsome, I could fix him. He murdered, like, a lot of people.
Yeah,
like,
there's no
across
comeback.
states. And then he even had a girl that he got pregnant while he was in jail for murdering women. All right, anyways, I digress from that point. But like Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Like, what is that thing in their head that switches off that's like, I can eat this person's heart?
Yeah, like that's crazy.
I can drill a hole into their head. I can do these, and not that I'm comparing what we were talking about earlier to these, but that whole, because that's a pretty
wild,
right?
Yeah.
Somebody dancing with the flag in a parade, and me talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. That's a pretty wide variety of things.
Yeah.
But like, I am genuinely curious just about, not even like in a cynical way, I'm curious about it because, like, I just want to understand what makes people make decisions.
Yeah, like I want to know like what went through your mind, like the very first time you ever did it, and like what exactly was going through your mind when you were like while you were doing it. Like that's where I go. Like I just want to like
Yeah.
again kind of going off yours. Like I want to know what like purposely made you feel like you wanted to do that
Or didn't.
Yeah.
Or like that thing that turned off and you didn't even know what you were doing was wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Oh, yeah.
that
Oh,
like
God,
that's
yeah.
one of those things that I'm like, was it a bump in the head? Was it like I could go on and on and on about it. But like I'm curious as to why humans do certain things. I'm curious as to why people go into certain career fields, why they hang out with certain groups of people. Why, like, if they like to dress up, if like Halloween is a big thing, right? There's creative people, then there's not. Like, I'm so like interested in the psychology of all of it because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
Everything is like everybody's wired so, dude. Everybody in my family is so different, and we come from the same mom.
Yeah. Honestly, like it's kind of like when you're just said that. You look at my mom, my dad, and hell, even my brother. I'm on a whole different side than what they're on. Completely different.
Okay, what do you mean?
So, my mom and my stepdad,
Mm-hmm.
they come from a small town, Chinook, Kansas. I mean, hell,
Like boonies, or is it kind of like
I'm talking like small town. You walk out your door and the person who lives in the neighborhood across town. Like, every single person in that town, everybody.
1,000 people type small town, or
a
like
little more than that.
okay,
Yeah. So, you look at, you put me next to them. My likes, what I like to do, is completely opposite of what they like to do. Like my music choice, they listen to like the classical music, jazz, opera, the classic rock.
oh dang,
Yeah, and I'm over here listening to country, rock, hip hop, rock, metal, heavy metal, whatever. And then, then you got my dad, who listens to like shit, Madonna and
first of all, Madonna, dude.
No, don't get me wrong, yeah.
Donna gets it.
But he's got like Madonna, Lady Gaga, all these other people.
Gaga gets it too.
No, yeah, but I'm saying like he listens to all these different, types of music, and then again, me.
Yeah.
So like we're kind of on different spectrums, but like, dude, it's weird. Like there's sometimes where we'll go out and I've had one person ask me if that is my mom because of how different we are. Like what I like to do, like
Yeah, but they wouldn't know that from like just looking at you.
Well, no, but like the way it's also kind of like the way we dress. I wear boots every day, jeans, shirt, hat. They don't even own a pair of fucking cowboy boots. Not a single pair.
Okay, so I get it. Like you're
they like, so to kind of put in like a little more, they like more modern type stuff.
Yeah, but okay, so maybe I kind of have an interesting thought process on that, right? Because I come from very, very, very small town.
Right.
Right? I've spent half of my life in big cities, and I've spent half of my life in 500 people or less, right? Like,
yeah.
I guess I was in between because there was a small place called Nashville in Arkansas that it was relatively big, but then we had like Center Point, like some other places that were super, super, super small.
Right.
Right? Well, when I moved to San Antonio, I lived in Laredo, but we had uniforms, so I didn't really get a chance to.
I got you. Okay.
Right, but whenever I moved to a bigger city, I almost didn't want to dress country because I came from the country, right? So I kind of like was willing to wear the Jordans, to wear the Nikes. Dude, I had a pair of Cortezes, right?
Oh God.
Because I had seen people wear them, and I'm like, oh, this is what city people wear. I felt like I needed to wear whatever
Everybody else was to fit in.
everybody was, but the caveat to that was everybody else from the city was trying to dress country. So I had this weird little switch in my mind that said, no, they're posing. I'm not going to wear country clothes because everybody else wants to wear country clothes and they're not really from the country. So I was like, well, if I'm living in a city, then I'm going to wear what I think is city clothes. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm, when
Do you think that has any possibility of that? Because like,
so yeah, because I'll even go back to like my middle school days. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was a fucking thug in middle school. I mean, I wore the Nikes, I wore like shorts, I even sagged my pants, dude. No lie, no bullshit.
that's cultural appropriation. You
Hey,
can't do that.
and I know,
Can't do that.
I know. I don't do that shit no more. I wear a belt every day.
I'm not even against sagging.
But
But it's like, why do you want to wear, like, if you want to sag, okay, sag. But, bro, like, you need be able to run, be able to, like, walk around.
but,
like,
no, like
I don't want to see your skid
yeah,
marks.
but I try to fit in so much that, like, I went through so many phases when I was younger, and I'm sure everybody did. But I went through, like, hell, I went through an emo phase, bro. Like, yeah, I did.
But, okay, I think that is because, for the most part, you grew up in a city that has a lot of cultural differences.
So I was born in one of the largest cities in the world. I was born overseas. And if you look at, so again, I'm from Japan. That's where I was born. I lived there for probably about a year. And then we came to the States. But, again, coming from the largest city, like, I try to fit in with everybody else versus doing what I wanted to do. Like, how I wanted to dress.
Yeah, but you were one.
But even in middle school and high school, high school, that's when I was like, I got the boots, everything like that. Like, this is like, that's when I knew, like, this is what I am. Like, in high school. But I always try to fit with everybody else. Like, I wore the Jordans, the Nikes, shorts. I try to do everything in my power. And it's kind of what you're saying, like, it was seeing how everybody else dressed, and I was like, I don't want to be different. I want to fit in.
But that's my point. Don't you think that has something to do with you're in a big city that has, dude, San Antonio has so much different versions of culture. I mean,
dude,
you're talking
so many.
But like you're talking about a military hub to where you're getting people from all over the United States. You're getting people, dude, we have so many different types of people that live here.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when there was riots and stuff like that, I was kind of like, I'm so glad that we live in a place because we're so culturally kind of open here. We have to be, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we have so many different cultures rolling around the city that it's like, well, we're kind of forced to be open, right? Like there's other cities that you really don't get that. Here it's like, okay, we accept that we used to be a part of Mexico. Like we have memoriams and we have missions and we have all of these different things to remember, kind of like, ooh, this is where we were, right?
Right.
Then we have different areas that's kind of like in, when Katrina hit, hey, this is where people moved here. Some people stayed, some people didn't. But then you have that New Orleans, that Louisiana aspect that comes over here, and you get a chance to kind of feed off of that energy because we all know that New Orleans is a super lively place. And you get so many different, because like I went through the same thing. Like I said, me and my siblings are all different. One of my sisters is extremely country, right? The other sister grew up R&B, rap. That was basically like, I may have seen her date like one or two black guys, or not white guys. Everybody else, she's liked black guys, right?
Right.
So there was such a huge difference in like how and I'm kind of like in between, right? Like I get down, I love rap, I love country, I get down with some rock. Like I like to think I'm pretty in between of all of that.
Oh yeah.
But I think for a long time that I was kind of, because of where I was from, was trying to kind of find a way. I don't know. Like I said, I felt like because I lived in cities and I would see people wear boots and I would see people wear cowboy hats and I'm like, yeah, but y'all are fake. Like y'all don't do this. Right? And obviously the older I got, I was like, oh, okay, like you can live in San Antonio and also still participate in rodeos, and like the rodeo's a gigantic thing here. Like there's a lot of country influence in San Antonio, but for a long time I just chose not to. But I think that I had a chance to go through all these different. I never went through emo.
Oh, I did.
But I never really had a chance to go through all of these phases because I was always like trying to be a contrarian to. I didn't want to fit into these boxes.
Yeah.
Right? Like even in football, I was like, I don't necessarily want to hang out with the stars on the team. I kind of want to hang out with different people, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to hang out with who I want to hang out. And I was very versatile in the people that I would hang out with because they all kind of had different characteristics. They were all different types of people, which ended up growing into very great human beings that.
Yeah, see, I didn't really hang out with like football players or, you know.
Mine was just because I played football. I mean,
well, I hung
you
out
shower naked with 60 other guys. Like,
yeah.
hey, man.
I did FFA in high school, so that was my crowd. Like that's who I hung out with all the time.
But see, I don't think that my school offered something like that. So like, I didn't really get a chance.
Man, I'll turn out one of the best experiences of my life was the 3 years I spent doing that.
Well, and I think if my school would have offered something like FFA, I think I probably would have done it.
Oh, it was.
But yeah, I mean, I had football. I guess we had some magnet programs or UIL. I don't really know what they call them. But like we had wood shop, we had automotive technology, we had like different things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was just like, all right, I'm just gonna play sports, and that was kind of like how I went about stuff. And I look back at my high school days, I had no sense of fashion. Which I'm not saying I have a sense of fashion now, but like I had no sense of fashion. I would wear plaid cargo shorts with highlighter colored socks and slides. Like, dude, I had no sense of fashion at all. And then I even tell people now, like, I don't know how I had girlfriends in high school, because I'm like, bro, I was not. Why would you ever want to be seen with me? Honestly,
man, if you're doing like, if you're doing those kind of shorts, man, that's like elementary style school. That's
but it wasn't though, because it was American Eagle. It was Abercrombie. It was like, at the time, that was what was extremely popular. I'm not giving myself a pass because, like I said, I look back at it and I'm like, that wasn't good.
Oh, dude,
but I thought because it was American Eagle, because it was Abercrombie, because it was Hollister, that
it was cool.
It didn't matter what it looked like as long as it was one of those brands, right?
Yeah.
So it was just kind of one of those things. But I also didn't have anybody to dress me. Like, I had no influence from my family members to tell me, Bubba, you looking raggedy. Like, what are you? And you know what? Let me walk that back, because I bet you that they did, and I just did not listen. They probably were like,
bro, what are you doing?
You need to stop. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I get girls. Like, but yeah, man, I really do think about that, because there's such a cultural shock. And dude, and I love San Antonio. I've tried to move away from San Antonio, but there is something about San Antonio that
just brings you back.
Yeah, like I still still say all the time, I don't want to live in San Antonio just because, like, I don't want, especially whenever I have a family, I don't want the big city politics.
Yeah,
Because
I am right there with you on that. Like, I, exactly how you just said. I don't want to be in San Antonio, but I would not mind being in like a small town outside of San Antonio.
yeah, like I think that my kids need to learn big city street smarts,
Oh, yeah.
right? I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they don't need to be naive to the fact that there's different people. There's people out to get you. There's evil people. There's nice people. There's whatever. Also, a variety of people that you're going to come in contact with in a major city that, let's be honest, you don't get out in the country because my dad knows your dad and he's
Yeah.
going to fucking kill you if you ever do something to me. Right? Like
Yeah.
there's no secrets in a small town.
No,
In San Antonio, it is what it is. If you get mugged, it's a matter of all right.
Where?
Set up an appointment at the DMV, Papa.
Yeah,
Like,
did that? And see, that's the crazy thing because I absolutely hate going downtown San Antonio. One, way too many fucking people. Way too many people.
well, and dude, they're like drunk, and they're like drunk on drugs, homeless.
Yeah.
Which and we say that, and we're probably not even on the top 25 list of bad places to be for any of that stuff. Like, our downtown is relatively good compared to like Austin and like some of these.
Don't even get me started on Austin.
But I'm saying, like, San Antonio is really not that bad. I still hate downtown, but
dude, I'll tell you now, I've lived here in San Antonio for about 20 plus years. I have gone to downtown at least, like, if we're talking like downtown, maybe 4 or 5 times in the 20 plus years I've lived here. I'm done. I've had enough.
but we live in a city that's so big that you don't have to go downtown.
No, you actually, like, that's the crazy thing is, like, the way I've looked at it is that you have San Antonio and then you have surrounding little towns. Like, you have, Castle Hills. You have,
Leon Springs,
Shirts, Converse,
yeah,
Live Oak, Selma. All these little different towns that surround San Antonio, and it's crazy to think about stuff like that.
Well, and I mean, it's just gonna keep growing. I don't really see it stopping.
No,
but I mean,
they're talking about actually legitimately combining Austin and San Antonio.
I don't know if that's gonna happen just because of like, I don't really know how that would work because you're combining two of the top 10 biggest cities, right? Like, that would be such a big metropolitan area, and then it's well, what do you do with all of these smaller surrounding municipal places? Like, how do you divvy those up? Do those stay Universal City? Do those stay Live Oak? Do those stay Cibolo?
Yeah.
And then, like, the older communities, like Garden Ridge, do those stay Garden Ridge? Or do you just say, because with that being said, so how do they expand it? Do you just do down, like, up 35?
Yeah.
Because then you're talking about the hill country, which a lot of those people probably aren't selling money or selling their property. So, I don't know. We'll see. I don't hate it. Like I said, because my goal eventually is to get out of the big city. I've learned what I need to learn, and I want my kids to learn what they're going to learn in the big city, but I want them to have small town morals.
Yeah. 100%.
Respect people. When you're out in the country, you can say no video games after a certain time. Go outside and play because you're not worried about your kids getting kidnapped. Like, there's so many.
Yeah, but nowadays, man, that's a punishment.
No, it's not though. It depends on the child because, like, my nephew Dalen and my nephew Nick, and Nick is getting a little bit older, so he's starting to get into video games. Dude, they go outdoors, they play. They don't. I think it matters on how you sell the idea of being outside.
Yeah.
And I think it starts off with like when the child is young and they're crying, do you learn how to stop them from crying, or do you hand them an iPad or a phone, right? Because when they're 5 years old, that's going to be their coping mechanism.
Yeah.
When they're upset, or when they're sad, or when they're angry, or when that's their coping mechanism, instead of working it out with you or themselves, they're going to resort back to technology. But I think if you have, because I don't really see that issue in a lot of like poor areas that can't afford the nice new stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, dude, you go to impoverished neighborhoods, and this, I'm not gonna say all of them because a lot of them do buy games and stuff like that. Dude, they go outside and play basketball. They go outside and play football in the streets. They go outside and play pickup games. They play, dude. They go outside. They have a good time. They scrape up their knees. They do stuff. But then it's like, yeah, nowadays you got to worry because.
Yeah, man, that was crazy to think. Like when I was, when we were younger, I mean, hell, I used to play this game called German Spotlight. And it was literally, you get however many people, it could be 20 to 50 to 75 people. It did not matter.
Oh, so many people.
And here's the reason why. The whole neighborhood was our playing field. That was all that we had. So it was a massive area. And we started a game at like 9 o'clock at night, and we'd go until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Damn. And you hand one person the flashlight, they count to however many, and they have to walk the entire neighborhood trying to find people.
Dang, that's crazy.
Like, and what's even more fun about that, not saying y'all should try it. When it hit 12 o'clock, that was curfew time. So now you had a high
12 o'clock at night, like,
yeah,
a.m.?
12 o'clock a.m. was curfew.
Jesus.
In my neighborhood. So at 12 o'clock, we'd have patrols that would drive through neighborhoods and make sure everything's good. Make sure everybody's indoors, whatever. You'd have to hide from your spotter and the police. If you got caught, you got screwed.
Well,
so
I never had that option. Well,
yeah. So I mean,
younger,
but it's crazy to think that as us being younger, we could be outdoors from however long to now. It's like, oh, I need you indoor by like 6.
I don't think a lot of people were out till midnight. I think that the common theme was when the lights come on.
That was
8 or 9.
Yeah, that
8
was
or 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that was our time, but us being young and somewhat
dumb and full of cum.
Yeah, pretty much. We would start our games at 9 o'clock at night, and when their parents went to bed, they sneak out and come over and play. And that was another thing, is that you had to make sure you didn't get caught by the police, so that way they don't wake up your parents at 12 o'clock at night and say, hey, we found him roaming in the neighborhood. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I just don't think you could get away with that at all.
I did.
No, I'm talking like in today's world.
No, in today's world,
don't think.
Again, in today's world, it's you're in the house by 6. We eat dinner at 7.
But it's not even you're in the house by 6. It's like you can be outside and you're in the house by 6, but that's because I'm watching everything you're doing up until 6. So then it's like, dude, that's why I want to get out, because if I have land, or if I have a space that doesn't have somebody, you have to come onto my property.
Yeah.
To do that. Like, you are having to come up my driveway to do anything with my family. And I'm going to know. My dog barks at every single thing that moves. The wind blows the wrong way, and he's
not
going
lying.
at it.
I
So
tell you
it's
now, a car door can close 3 houses down, and he is going berserk.
just good for it's good for an alert dog. But man, when he goes 6 to 12, and he's just barking, hair on the back of his neck, standing up, he's just scares me. But yeah, I think I want them to learn big city, like the culture, the street smarts. I want them to be able to manipulate the big city aspects, because I think it's nice to have supermarkets, to have hair salons, to have like all the clubs, dance halls, food places. I think it's nice to have a big city for all of those, but I think for the moral stuff and the peace of mind, it's so much easier to just kind of let's get out of here 10, 20 miles away.
Yeah.
If you want to move to the city, you can move to the city when you're a grown person, but that way we can still go into the city, teach them not be stupid and ignorant about certain aspects of it. Hey, you see that guy that's staring at you? Maybe don't walk that way, right? Because I know people that are from small towns. Dude, I know somebody right now that will leave money in their car, door unlocked, purse in there. And I'm like, stop. And they don't understand what they're doing wrong. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Because if somebody opens that door and they steal all of that stuff, the cops are going to look at you and be like, why'd you leave the door open, stupid? You shouldn't have done that. You invited them into the vehicle.
Man, I've made that mistake once where, coming home from the bar or whatever, and I had literally pulled up into the grass, opened my door, walked inside. I didn't even turn the truck off, didn't close the door, nothing. I just walked in, went to bed. I woke up and going downstairs getting something to eat, and I noticed at the corner of my eye, my lights are on, truck is running, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, I'm a dumbass. Walked outside. I had a full tank of gas. I walked out there, empty. I was like, and I am actually surprised that nobody touched my truck.
They probably thought it was a dang plant. They probably thought they were like, dude, that's too. No, it can't be real.
Yeah.
They probably thought that was something that the police were doing just to catch somebody.
It's in my front yard.
Dude, come on. They do that all the time, though.
But like it was. Oh man, I will never forget that day.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like, because I've lived in all sorts of neighborhoods. I've lived in trailer hoods. I've lived in ghetto areas. I've lived in boony countries. I've lived in nice suburban areas, right? And I've got so much of that under like my dude. I can be in a nice area, and I'm still looking at a little old white man just like, what you doing?
Oh yeah, no,
why you walking towards me, bro?
Yeah, like there's, kind of going back on that, kind of like the other day, I was just going to the store, and this car had passed by the driveway and stops a few houses down, doesn't get out, doesn't turn the car off, nothing. And I'm like, are you just waiting for me to leave, or what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And like, I literally rushed to the store, rushed back. The guy's still in his car, car running. And I'm like, okay, you're just sitting there probably waiting on somebody. But again, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you notice.
You still gotta.
Yeah, no, like
you still gotta be.
Yeah, like you notice that my reverse lights are on. You stop a couple houses down. Trying to make me think, oh, while you're waiting for someone down there, then you see me leaving, you come pull around. And it's just stuff like that. Like, hell, even in my mom's neighborhood, I've always done the same thing where There's a car parked right across the street, and I was at the house by myself, and I was literally running to the store to grab something, and they're just in the car running, and they're looking in my direction, and I'm like they're waiting for me to leave.
I mean, dude, I've had moments like that where I'll walk up and I'll have a pistol holstered, and I'll walk up to them and I'll have my hand on it, and I'm just like, "What are you doing here?
Oh no,
Why are you?" And like, obviously, I never want it to escalate or get to like the point where I have to use my tool, but it's one of those things where it's like, "Why are you here?" Because at neighborhoods that I've lived in, it's like, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
I haven't seen you around here. So why are you in my neighborhood? What are you doing? And if, in most cases they're like, "Oh, I just know so and so," like, and then I'll explain to them like, "Well, we've had cars broken into and things like that, so we just kind of look over everybody's houses. So like, my bad if I put you kind of at a, weird situation."
Yeah.
But like, and most of the time they're like, "No, I understand. Like, I get that." And I'm like,
yeah. That's why a lot of times, like, if I'm here by myself or somewhere by myself, I normally have my pistol within arm's length.
I mean, you kind of have to, man. Like, I know that's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But really though, it's, and I've been shot at, and dude, for nothing, for zero, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, in that situation, you got to make a decision where it's like, all right, I either shoot back, I get away, or I get shot. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a weapon on me, well, I can't shoot back. So that option's out. And what happens if they decide that they want to shoot me? Well, I'm just a dude who got shot and couldn't protect myself. Like, I don't ever want to hurt nobody. I don't ever want to.
No, I
Like I said, I don't want to have to use my tool, but it's like,
if it's life or death,
you never know somebody else's intention.
No, that's why I always keep my head on a swivel, man. I always look around. Even when I'm driving and that asshole behind me is riding my ass. Like a while back, when I had actually lived out west, I was coming back here to visit, and I'm driving I-10, doing my 85, the speed limit, whatever. Well, this guy's riding my ass the entire, for a good, 20 miles. And finally, he comes around. He's coming to my window slowly. Well, I normally, I carry my pistol in my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually kind of had to, slowly kind of grab it, put it on my leg, and see what was going to happen. Because, again, like you just said, you never know someone's intentions. Well, I looked over, and, this guy's screaming, he's yelling, da-da-da. And I'm waiting for him to, pull out a pistol or whatever. And at that time, I'm ready to go.
But at that moment, it's one of those weird, almost like instinctual tribal things where it's like, dude, it's either you or me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm going to win that battle every time, but I at least want to put up a fight.
Yeah,
right? Like, I don't want it to be on my tombstone where it's like he didn't even try, because that's terrifying. And then when you think about family members or you think about other stuff like that, where it's like, well, I don't care what is comfortable or uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable with it, right? Like, you should be uncomfortable with the possibility of having to do that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that at that moment, you gotta breathe and you gotta make very snap decisions,
whether you like it or not.
And with that, the understanding of, dude, this might change your whole entire life if whatever this decision is.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, man, I think the world is just kind of it's a very interesting place, and it makes me think. It makes me in just to tie everything that we've talked about. It intrigues me why people are the way that they are, but I think that me being intrigued by that concept makes me alert to a lot of different things, whether it's
absolutely
being able to enjoy people and their characteristics and attributes,
yeah.
all the way to when somebody's trying to bring evil into my life and I have to fight it with more evil, right?
Right.
But I'm super glad like I got to kind of dive a little man, I can't believe I did not know that about you. But yeah, like I think that this is something that we can do. You know, some days I'll kind of dive into my things. Some days, you know what I mean? Because there's, dude, out of the course of our whole entire lives, mine almost 30 years of existence. Yours is almost 27?
20, I mean, I just turned 26.
Okay, so 27 years of existence. A lot of things have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of things have changed the way that you see things or how you go about life. So,
oh yeah.
But nah, man, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thoroughly, I'm glad I got to learn something new about you. I'm glad that maybe we kind of got to talk about things on hopefully the more lighter side. I don't think that. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh yeah.
But I'm glad I got to. Leave it to people to turn this thing into them. Something about them, right?
Right.
But I'm glad I got to, peel back the covers a little bit, learn a little bit more.
Yeah, because I don't think I've actually like really gone into depth of like my life, my family with you at all for like how long have we known each other already?
No, and I mean we've kept it relatively like just hey, we go out, have fun, we do stuff, but this will give us an opportunity. Because I mean, dude, we're gonna do this every single week. And there's going to come times where we don't have nothing to talk about. What's better to talk about than stuff that we've experienced, things that why we are the way that we are. Oh, Lord knows I could write a novel on my dang life. I'm sure you could too.
It would probably be a novel, but
but yeah, we're a little over an hour, so appreciate you kind of like giving me some insight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Letting me peel back those covers and stuff like that. Like I said, I apologize if we got a little too personal with some of the family stuff. I hope not. But hey man, I'm glad I got to learn that about you. Like that makes me appreciate you as a person more, just because like there's a lot of people who would have decided to go
a whole nother route.
Yeah, a hateful route, right? Like, oh, you left my mom and you doing this, right? So like that makes me appreciate, because you could have went a whole different route, but you chose love, you chose appreciation, you chose.
Oh yeah, man.
Hey,
that's my family. That's my that's my dad. That's gonna be my only dad, and I mean, he technically helped me. Helped bring me into this world. So I mean.
Yeah, fuck your feelings.
So I mean,
he shot a load into a woman, and that created you.
So I mean,
he painted them walls, and
I have nothing but love and respect for my dad, and everything that we built from ground up, and it's been a pretty cool ride, with my dad. Kind of learning how how he became who he was, and again, I have nothing but love and respect for him.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's a good note for us to end this on, because I don't think you can get much more positive than that. Alrighty. Well, thank y'all.